All right, so I'm going to count us in, and we are good to go. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Hey!
Welcome inside MASL Midweek with Michelle. I'm Michelle Gingras, and I am so excited to be joining you every week to be bringing you behind-the-scenes stories from players, fan testimonies, maybe, who knows, and also just special interviews that we'll get to do all throughout the season long. And we're kicking it off with a very good one. MASL Commissioner Keith Tozer, thank you so much for taking the time. You were a player in this league at one point. You coached in this league, won Coach of the Year 8 times, I believe. So why not become commissioner? I feel like that's the next step in this process, right? How has that transition been for you so far?
Well, it's been great. It's been exciting. I mean, obviously to be with Shep and JP and take over the league office and this wonderful sport that we all grew up in. Maybe it's kind of like the circle of life, Michelle, player, coach, and now commissioner. So far, so good.
So obviously you started your career as a player. Tell me a little bit about what it was like, from the league's infancy when you were starting to play and where it's come so far to now and when you were coaching and where you hope to take it as commissioner.
Yeah, it started in 1978. And prior to that, I used to go to Meadowlands and watch the New York Cosmos play. And obviously Shep was the goalkeeper there. So I knew of him. Everybody thought he was fantastic. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, here I am at Nassau Coliseum, first game of the MISL. I look over my shoulder. I got Pete Rose, my owner. I look down at the other end of the field. I got Shep. It was like an unbelievable moment. I was a broke college kid, and I had a little bit of money in my pocket. And then spring forward, the league started to grow. Teams started to come in. Crowds were there. It was a fantastic time for indoor soccer in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, what are some of your favorite memories that stand out from your time specifically as a player?
I think scoring against Shep, and I'm not saying that jokingly. I mean,
Yeah.
Here's a guy who followed Shep, as an American player, always thought he was one of the best goalkeepers for the U.S. and I end up scoring against him and being on the same field. I thought that was amazing. To go work as a coach with the Jerry Buss and Jim Buss of the LA Lakers. That was another great moment. And then coming to Milwaukee and winning 6 indoor championships with all the great players that we had. It's been a really kind of great ride. And I kind of joke is I've done really everything in this league, from even getting per diem and, driving vans to being on airplanes with Dr. Buss. So it's been a great ride.
So just to follow up with on that. Let's start with Shep, because obviously now you're working together again with this league. It's a new leadership group. You, Shep Messing, and JP Delacamera. How were you approached to kind of come into the fold here for this new group? And is it different now to work with Shep in this capacity, I guess?
Yeah, with JP, I was a player with the Pittsburgh Spirit, and JP was working in the front office and ticket sales. So that's how we got together. And then Shep, over the years, we just stayed in good contact. And a couple of years ago, he reached out to me because I started a podcast, and he wanted to know more about the podcast industry and how to do it. So we sparked our relationship back up again. And then when this opportunity presented itself, I want to say it was Shep that said, wouldn't it be cool that all 3 of us go after the same job and then cut it up depending on what our qualities are? And that's basically what we did. And so far, it's worked out great.
Yeah, I know it's been a whirlwind for you. And I'm sure just coming off of a COVID year for it to be your first season, which I do want to talk about a little bit later on. But what are your expectations, I guess, just for your first year as commissioner?
Well, if you take every element in the game and in the business side of the league from A to Z, we feel if we can improve 30% in all those areas, then we've taken a great leap forward. Whenever I took over a franchise, be it Los Angeles or Kansas City or Atlanta, and then finally Milwaukee, we always told the ownership group, it takes 3 years to make change. You got to change a culture. You got to create a system. You got to find if you got the right people on the bus. Then after 3 years, hopefully you've got that thing pointing in the right direction for big success. And I think that's what our game plan is here now, is across the board, trying to really get it pointed in the right direction.
And how unique, just going back to what you were saying, JP had familiarity with the league. He was working in the league in some capacity. Shep was a player in the league at one point. We obviously touched on, your familiarity with the league. To come back into these roles with the experience that you've accumulated over the years, do you feel like it just puts you guys in a position to really succeed?
I think not only experience, Michelle, but I also think life is about relationships. For instance, you're doing this now for the MASL, bringing great notoriety from you to this great game of indoor. And I think that's what Shep, JP, and myself have brought, is all those relationships that we have had over the years, kind of bring them together. And we had so many people reach out in other sports that started at indoor soccer and went to the NFL or the NHL or MLS and said, "Oh my God, you guys have taken over this league. How can we help? Is there anything we can do?" It was really the first 30 days. It was like just a fast treadmill. It was awesome. So I think with the experience, I think with Shep's experience in the business world and sponsorship, I think JP in the media, myself in the soccer, but we do cross over. And since there's three of us, it's kind of like the Supreme Court. We kind of vote. So there's always like a majority and we win each other over. But it's been a great ride and a tremendous amount of respect for those two gentlemen.
You mentioned earlier, the experience you had working with the Bus family. What did you learn from working with ownership like that you could maybe carry into your new role now?
My time with LA Lasers for 3.5 years was magical. I was young, was 27, 28 years old. Here I am at one end of the stadium. We got Magic Johnson and Pat Riley. I got Wayne Gretzky on the other side. I was thrown into that world. But Dr. Bus really kind of taught me how to be a personal coach, how to get along with players. I mean, he was the kind of guy, it didn't matter if you were sweeping the Forum, that's what it was called when I was first there, or if you were the president of the Lakers. He took care of the people around him, and the people around him wanted to take care of him. And that's something that really stuck with me. And then to be around Pat Riley, who was a sweat the details kind of guy, very well dressed, did everything in practice to make sure they can win. Then all of a sudden Gretzky comes into the fold, and there I am then coaching an indoor soccer team. So for me, it was like, sports 101 all the way up through a master program in a short period of time.
Yeah, and it seems like you got a little bit of a taste of like both worlds, like different approaches to how to do business, and all of it kind of culminating in what is now your role, right?
Yeah, and what was great about him was that he put people in position and let them do what they do best. He wasn't a micromanager. He would ask you, "Hey, what do you need? How can I help you?" But he wasn't a guy that would be looking over your shoulder for or something like that. I mean, Michelle, I got to say that everybody that I talked to or ran into or been around with Dr. Bus, and I spent a lot of time with them. I've flown to Vegas with them and Denver and the Lakers and everything. Everybody really, really felt so good about Dr. Bus and so much respect, as well as Jim and the rest of the family.
We talk so much about the importance of relationships, and you mentioned just that first 30 days when you, Shep, and JP kind of came together to form this new leadership group, just being a complete whirlwind. How much did that excite you for the potential of what this league can be again?
Well, we kind of knew this rocket ship could take off. We didn't know how fast it was going to take off, and we didn't know how many people were going to be on that rocket ship. And as soon as it was announced and we took off, it was amazing. People were calling to congratulate. Like I said before, people were calling about how can we help you. It was really great. And I'm talking about past players, past coaches, executives across the board. It's really been an amazing journey.
I mean, it has to be pretty fulfilling for you as well to see so many people want to reach out and just participate in this in any way they can and help you in any way they can.
Yeah, I've always taught my children that if you're bad to people, you deserve to get bad. And if you're good, you'll get good. And I think Shep and JP have done a wonderful job through their relationship of being respectful to people. And I think that's why so many people reached out. This sport has given so much to us three guys, as well as so many other men and women. Sarah Koenig, who's now Sarah Quick, she started with the Milwaukee Waves. She's been with the Green Bay Packers for 15 plus years as a PR director, only woman to go and allowed in the men's locker room at the Packers. I mean, she reached out. All these men and women who started in this great sport, who've done so well, really kind of feel like they owe something to it. And we're really excited about coming back in and being a part of it.
Well, you've got me very excited. Let's talk a little bit about what it's like in a post-COVID era now. You know, the league shut down before the playoffs because of COVID last year, which obviously everyone understands, but it's still disappointing, right? Like, it's disappointing for fans. It's just disappointing to not be able to see their favorite players, their teams play. So knowing the opportunity that you guys had kind of coming out of that as we kind of look to the other side now, you know, what were the biggest challenges that you were facing early on and maybe still continue to face?
Well, as you know, the COVID issue is something that we'll probably face during this whole season and maybe another year or so. And obviously the health and safety of our fans, our players, our referees, our coaches, our front office staff is extremely important to the entire league. So we got to keep an eye on that. We have got a chief medical officer that actually sits on the board in Major League Baseball come on board to help us out. It was so exciting to see St. Louis and Kansas City. I mean, two, longtime members of the indoor game play last weekend, which I think gave a lot of people, especially our fans, hope that this thing is coming back, right? Don't we all need something to take the stress off our plate? And I think indoor soccer does that. That, to me, kicking off last weekend, I thought was really special for all of us. And we're really excited about not only this year, but again, what the future holds for the game.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about this past weekend. You mentioned it, a big rivalry kicking off. What did you see that stood out to you about these two teams, and what excites you going forward about them?
Yeah, well, I'm sure if Shep was watching the game, obviously he's watching the game on the soccer side, but maybe now in his new role, maybe more the business side. JP's watching the game, and he's probably listening to the announcers and the PAs and how the game is from the media standpoint. And then there's me. I'm watching every movement a player does, every movement that a coach does. And as you know, we changed some things. We brought a coin toss back in. Which we thought was important. We added points to the standings. And then the big talk was changing the goalkeeper rule, which got a lot of people nervous.
Yeah.
And this weekend showed quite well, actually.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. What was the thought process behind that rule to begin with? And did you see what you were hoping to see just from a pace standpoint in these games?
Yeah, I think whenever you make a rule change, you got to ask yourself two quick questions. One, will it make the game better? We said yes. And two, can our referees manage it? And we said, yes, they can. I was in Dallas last weekend working with all the referees before the league started. We really worked on the goalkeeper rule. Where it came from is that we took a study of 3 matches prior to the COVID year of how many times the ball went back to the goalkeeper. And on an average, both teams played it 80 to 100 times. So if we could take half those and instead of going backwards, go forward, go towards the net and score goals, we feel that the game could be better and over time create better players. So we did the editing of the tape. We had discussions. We had it in a combine. So we actually got to see it up close and personal. And then we made the change. And so far, so good. Scoring is up. People are attacking more. And I think it's going to be exciting. And most importantly, it's going to create better coaches and players in the years to come.
Fantastic. Yeah. So just keeping along with all of these changes as well, a new playoff format, point system, retooled divisions, some new rules, another team. A lot to be excited about if you're watching MASL. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's this rocket ship and it took off and like we're trying to hold on to it or the train or whatever, but there's so many wonderful things that are going. And Michelle, you're always in outdoor soccer. Indoor soccer needs to get back into the conversation of the soccer group in the United States. It seemed like for the last whatever amount of years, we weren't it. Everybody's talking about outdoor soccer. Everybody's talking about how futsal develops a different player, but people forgot about indoor soccer. Preki, I believe, no, don't hold me this. Preki, I believe, is the only 2-time back-to-back MLS MVP, and he played 10 years in indoor soccer. Then you got Zoran Savic in Kansas City. You got so many coaches, Smetzer, who's won championship, Flacco with the women's national team. These guys all came through indoor soccer, and there is a place for it, and that's what we're here for. And someone like you brings that notoriety to it.
I was going to say, well, you're very kind. I was going to say, how, you're saying you want to get Major League, MASL back into the conversation. How do you plan to do that? What does that look like? I mean, obviously we're seeing it now in the conversations that we're having, but what else am I missing? What else are you trying to do to kind of make this, a league that people are talking about again?
Well, the USC, United Soccer Coaches Convention, is the largest coaches convention in the world. This year it's in Kansas City. Indoor soccer has never been at the coaches convention. So on Thursday, the 20th of January in Kansas City, hosted by Nick Vassos, who's the voice of the Kansas City Comets, we're doing a professional indoor soccer symposium with Shep, JP, and myself called Back to the Future.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. And then on Friday, we have a meet and greet at Johnny's, which is right next door to the convention. So coaches and everybody else can come there. And Major League Soccer, the National Women's Professional League, they're there, college coaches from around the world. And then Saturday, normally the Comets play outside about 40 minutes from downtown Kansas City. But at the T-Mobile building on the 22nd, you'll see you'll see Kansas City Comets play the Tacoma Stars at 7 p.m. So you have season ticket holders for the Comets can go to the convention for free on Saturday. So from nothing to everything in 3 days. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do to get back to the conversation.
It seems like just increasing the exposure. And really, I think one thing I noticed as well with this league is there's a lot of grassroots, right? Like the players are really involved as well in trying to help grow the game and grow the popularity. Is that something that you want to continue to do, just keeping them involved in the community and interacting with fans in different ways as well this season?
100%. I think when a club gets a player and gets them kind of like woven through the community in a church, in the school, the game, different charities, then it becomes more of just a sport, right? Relationships again. Isn't it wonderful when you walk into a restaurant and the owner says, "Hey, Michelle, how you doing?" You feel good about yourself. And these guys do this to the fans and the kids that come to the game. And the grassroots marketing is extremely important for this. And for the league to be successful and continue it, it really starts with the players. And we have some great players in this league.
We've kind of just in closing, we've touched on it a few different times, but it really seems like for you, this job and just the way that you've come into this role has been all about relationships, right? And so in your role as commissioner, I was going to ask you just the direction you want to take the league in, but excuse me if I'm overstepping. It feels like you just want to continue to build on these relationships from the past and the future as you guys kind of just try to bring this forward together.
I think for the past 40 years, they've done a wonderful job building the foundation. And of course, to have a house that stands up through the wind, you need a foundation. I think we have that now. I think what we're trying to do is now kind of remodel this house to get it pointed in the right direction, make it hot, make it cool, make it exciting. And obviously soccer is one of the biggest sports in the world. And we just happen to be playing in indoor. And so if you're a fan of outdoor, come on indoor. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, so many exciting things to look forward to. You mentioned it. You hit the nail on the head. Soccer just continues to be growing. Obviously, on the world stage, it's so huge, but I've noticed it specifically in the United States the past couple of years, just continuing to grow and grow. So it seems like the perfect time. And with that, I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you so much, Keith, for stopping by. There's just so much to be looking forward to for the next couple of years. I think fans should be really excited.
Always a pleasure. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well. This is MASL Midweek with Michelle Gingras. I'll be back with you next Wednesday. Thanks so much for stopping by.